My name is Jen Anderson. I am 36 years old. I am a very normal person in so many ways. The way that I am not normal is that I have metastatic breast cancer. It's also called stage 4 breast cancer. It's also terminal breast cancer, which is the word that no one likes to talk about when we're talking about breast cancer or any disease. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer for the first time in March of 2012. The day that I was diagnosed, the breast surgeon cried when she looked at me and told me that I had breast cancer. So that's how I knew that it was really bad. When I looked at her through tear-stained eyes for both of us and said, "Can I be cancer-free in a year?" She put her hand on my shoulder and she looked at me and she said, "Yes, you can be. I've seen it happen before." So I really held on to that hope from the very first day that I was diagnosed. I'd gone in that morning to find, because I thought my breast was weird. I was 32 years old. I had no reason to think that anything was wrong or super scary. So I just went to my regular OB-GYN, and when the OB-GYN felt it and did an exam, she said, "I'm concerned about this mass." And that word really set my radar up. So I immediately, when I got out of that appointment, I went out to my car and I sat in my car and I called every business card that she'd given me for breast surgeons. And the very last business card was able to get me in on that same day. So that's how I came to see whom I called Dr. Awesome. That's what the name of my surgeon became, because she was wonderful that day and gave me a lot of support and hope on that first day, even in the midst of the worst day of my life and telling me that really bad news. I had to call my husband with the news that I had breast cancer while he was at work, because the appointment that I'd gone to wasn't a scary appointment. So I remember sitting on the edge of the exam table, swinging my legs, wearing a hospital gown, and listening to myself tell him that I have breast cancer. And the surrealness of that moment is something that lingers with us both. We still pinch ourselves 4 years later that this is something that's part of our life. But it's where we are. My reality today is that I have been dealing with breast cancer for 4 years. I was initially diagnosed as stage 3, but within a year and a half, I had metastatic tumors developing. So I've had tumors in my lung that have been cut out twice. I've got more tumors now in my sternum, in my lymph nodes, and I've got tumors in my left lung now. So my reality is that every day cancer is spreading and growing inside of my body, which is, like, I listen to myself say this and I just can't quite believe it, because I'm just so normal. And that's, I think, what I want to feel normal. I want to be normal. I am normal, and I don't want to be perceived as strange. So, the hardest part about being a metastatic breast cancer patient at the age of 36, not that there's an easy age for it, is that I have a wonderful family and a life that I'm very proud of having built. My husband is amazing, and he is a rock for me. And he, when I am feeling sick because of the drugs that I'm on, the chemo, he tells me, "Good job for resting today. What'd you do today, honey?" "Well, I got the girls off to school, took Greta to the babysitter, then I took a nap, and I've been in bed all day, and I'm still in my pajamas, and I didn't make dinner." And he gives me a high five in that moment. And that is amazing to me that he does that. My daughters now are 8 years old and 4 years old, so I have a third grader and a preschooler, and they're amazing, and they're the light of my life. And I want to be here to raise my girls. I want to know them as adults. When I was first diagnosed, I started trying to think, okay, how many years should I pray for? How many years do I need to have in order to feel like I lived my full life, or that my girls will feel like they got me for as long as they need me? And the reality for me is that I'm 36 and I still need my mom, who is a very active and important part of my life. And so there's not an age yet that I've reached where I've hit the point where I'm willing to say, I can die now. I don't envision that ever happening. I want to be there for my kids from now until, we're all old and gray and sitting in rocking chairs on our porches. The stark reality of metastatic breast cancer is that those are sciencey words that nobody understands. What metastatic breast cancer means to me is that at any given time, I could find out that the expectation from the medical team is that I have 8 weeks to live. That could happen tomorrow, and that is something that I absorb in my everything I do as I go about every day. Every birthday that my kids have had for the last 4 years, I have anticipated, or I've tried not to anticipate, rather, that this is the last one that I'll see. Every year when we set up the Christmas tree, I make us take a picture of our family setting up the Christmas tree, because I want to make sure that they remember me putting on the ornaments too. And I have really been blessed by a family and a husband that really has been supportive of being memory makers. So one of the things that, so many things about our life have changed in the last 4 years. Our priorities are not normal. We do not worry about retirement savings, because if I have to worry about money when I'm retired, that will be a really great problem. So we spend our money very differently than a lot of our peers, and we go on more vacations, and we take more trips, and we make more memories than our peers. There's a wonderful sweetness in that. But in every trip that we go on, it's also, will this be our last vacation? Will this be our last memory? Will this one be it? And because I've been fighting for 4 years, and the fun budget has a limit, and so it's safe to say that we don't have the fun cushion that we used to have anymore, and we don't go on vacation anymore because we tapped out our fun budget, which is great because I've lived past those milestones. So even in the hardships of our story and of our life, I always look for the good. That's one of my traits. So I'm proud of myself for that. Very early on, when I was diagnosed, I began to write and blog about my journey and my story because I needed to do it to process it for myself. It was helpful to share with my friends and family, to know what was going on with us. And then I also view it as something that one day when my girls are older, they will very much appreciate having their mama's words to read. And I like to think that we'll sit down together, and they'll be in their 30s, and they'll be having small children playing at their feet, and we'll read my words together and laugh about how Greta spilled peas all over the place when she was a baby, and look, her baby just did that too. And I hope that we do those things together. But I'm not promised that, and so I also view my writing as something that if I'm not there to share it with them, then it'll be a way for them to know me. And I think that right there is the loneliest part of my journey, because I think multiple times a day about leaving my kids and what will they remember, and how will they know me, and who will make their lunch, and who will buy their prom dress and teach them to drive. And I know that their dad will do a lot of those things, and their dad is amazing, and I couldn't have asked for a better husband and father for my kids, and I'm so lucky in that regard. But there's also just a very real raw element that I love them, and I want to do those things, and I ache to do those things, and I know that they ache to do those things. So my medical team tells me that I will die. They are truth tellers, and that's their job. And there are outliers statistically that don't die, and that they live with metastatic cancer in their bodies for a long time. And I hope to be one of those outliers. And so I hang on to that hope, but the reality, the statistical reality of that is that it's a very, very, very unlikely thing. It is more likely that I will die in the next year than it is that I will live for another 10. So even saying that out loud makes me cue on to my position, my reality. So very early on, I developed a mindset, or I felt like I needed to develop a mindset to try to wrap my mind around my new reality. And I came up with the mission of do today well, because I cannot control what is going to happen with the cancer that's growing. I cannot control very many things about my life, but I can absolutely control how I respond to them. So my goal for myself became do today well, if I could put my head on the pillow at the end of the night and remember the memories that I'd made with my kids that day, and the kisses I'd given my husband that day, and the smiles and the laughter that I'd shared that day, then I could feel really good about that. And so that became the legacy that I am choosing to live every day. It's small, and it's do today well. And it's been something that has been contagious, which has been really fun. One of the things that happens when you get diagnosed with cancer is that everyone, the love comes out of the woodwork. You find out how many great people there are in the world, and sometimes they're known to you as friends and family, and sometimes they're not. They're strangers that choose to step into your story. So I'm very humbled that I have been so well loved as I've been going through cancer. My children have grown up with cancer. My 4-year-old was 10 months when I was diagnosed, and so she does not remember anything else, and she is blissfully still at the age where she is not very aware about what the reality of the situation is, which is age appropriate, and I'm thankful for that. And therefore she provides us some awesome comic relief, and her personality is contagious and fun and energetic, and she is a delight. She's a strong and a powerful kid, and our favorite thing to giggle about Greta, and giggle and Greta and great all start with cheese on purpose, because we always say that she needs to use her power for good, and as long as she channels all of her power for good, then she's going to be everything is going to work out for her. My older daughter Mirren was 4 when I was diagnosed, and she doesn't remember any different. The first time that we shaved my head, we did it on the back patio, and the first time that we shaved my head, we did it on the back patio. I had every day, because the doctor told me it would take about 2 weeks for it to fall out, so every day for the last 2 weeks I'd been doing this and looking at my fingertips to see if I had been pulling hair out as I was doing that. And then that Sunday morning at church, I looked down and I had about 17 hairs pinched in my finger, and I was like, showed my husband, it's falling out. And so we decided that that would be the day that I would shave my head, and it was going to happen anyway. And so we invited over our neighbors who are our friends and some other neighbors, and one of our friends used to cut guys' hair for $5 in college, so he seemed the most qualified to do the job. So on a very beautiful, gorgeous, sunny day in April, we had about 30 people on our back patio, including my 11-month-old daughter and my 4.5-year-old daughter. And we shaved my head. And what I remember about that day is the crispness of having very little hair on your head, which most women do not know that feeling. And it is a delicious feeling to be that exposed. And the other thing I remember is that as the hair, they'd buzz the hair and then it would just blow away in the wind. And I remember thinking that there was lots of strawberry blonde birds' nests in our neighborhood that year because my hair was just blowing all over the place. And it was an energy of happiness, and it was an energy of fun, and I'm proud of how we did that. And that's a good example of how our family chooses to do today well. I definitely want to say thank you to Steve at SVG Motors and SVG Chevrolet, because they have given me the opportunity to tell my story, and I believe that powerful things are through people's stories, and having that opportunity today means a lot to me and to my family. And also on a very practical level, Steve is helping my family make memories. So I'm really excited about the potential for what the creative ways and what we're going to do with the gift that he's giving us that's going to stick with us for a lifetime, and that's really going to make my daughters a legacy, continue to build our family legacy that we're proud of. One day out of the blue, I got a phone call from Kim from Tina's Angels, and she said, I help with a charity organization that is done in honor of an amazing person named Tina who died from breast cancer, and we were wondering if we could bless your family with some fun. And I was like, yes, I would love to be. I would love to have some fun. And so Kim and I had a great rapport from the beginning, and we brainstormed about different ideas. The organization was great because they were open to different ideas that I might have for what would work for my family. I was bald and going through chemo at the time, so it was a great thing for my brain to think about that was not cancer related. And my children were 2 and 6 at the time, so it was wonderful to be able to think about what would be a fun family activity that we could do. So what we ended up doing was going to Great Wolf Lodge, and Tina's Angels set it up so that not only my family could come, but also the family that is our help coordinators. They're the ones that manage meals for us. If somebody wants to serve us, they go through them so that we don't even have to manage our own help. So our best friends and our help coordinators were also able to go to Great Wolf Lodge with us. So the 9 of us had a great time playing, laughing, and celebrating my daughter's birthdays. They even went the extra mile of having a frozen birthday cake waiting in the room there for us when we got there. So I was really touched by the personal way that the whole thing was done, by how it was tailored to my family and my experience, and the memory that it made for myself and for my family. And it's been a year and a half since that occurred, and I'm grateful, 1, to still be alive and laughing about it, and 2, that my family has that memory to hang on to. So thank you very much to Tina's Angels.
Hi, my name is Troy Kerr. I am the founder of Tina's Angels, a Kerr Conrad foundation. We humbly started this foundation in memory of my sister Tina Kerr Conrad, who passed away November 5th, 2010, after a 15-month battle with breast cancer. We started this foundation on January 11th of 2013. Our mission statement is we plan family-centered activities to offer encouragement and support for men and women in the community who are battling breast cancer. And we've been fortunate enough to help several women and their families and work beside them and get to know them. And with the help of folks like SVG Motors, we've had a lot of support through the community, and from individuals and also companies that have helped support us. And one of the ladies we've had a pleasure of getting to know and work with is an amazing lady, Jen, who has had her own battle with breast cancer and has become part of the Tina's Angels family. So it's nice that you allowed us into your journey with breast cancer and into your fight, and I really admire how you have fought in breast cancer with a positive attitude with your husband and children, and the impact that you've made on us at Tina's Angels, and just reminds me of how Tina fought and how positive you've been through everything that you've been through.
Well, thank you. That means a lot, personally, and from as a person who your organization has served. I think that that's one of the things that I like about Tina's Angels, is that you go far beyond the token response, and that you really have invested in me in a way that is lasting and meaningful. So thank you. One of the things I like to think about is that if Tina and I could sit in the chemo chair together, side by side, there are recliners in the chemo room, I think we'd be friends. And I really like imagining that. And it brings a smile to my face when I think about her. I've gotten to know her through the stories that I've read about her, that you've shared, that other members have shared. And it just means a lot that her legacy is being continued on, and that I know her to be a kind, good, and true person. And that is amazing, given that I never had the opportunity to meet her, and cancer ended her life prematurely. So, I'm disappointed for myself and for Tina that is going to be the legacy that we share, that I have metastatic breast cancer. I am expected to die soon from the disease, and I don't want that to happen. But I am grateful for the organization like Tina's Angels that continues to put positivity out in spite of the negative things that happen to us. So it's a great partnership. I feel really grateful.
Well, thank you, and we're grateful for you. And on this Christmas holiday season, we're thankful for all you've done, and the light that you've let shine through Tina's Angels and with Tina's Angels. And I can say from the Tina's Angels organization, we wish you decades and decades of Merry Christmases.
Thank you. Thank you.